Back in the years from 2019 to 2021, I had a bit of a strange zombie phase. Don't quote me on that. I've played nearly every zombie game I could think of, so some of the Resident Evil games, Dying Light, Left 4 Dead, Unturned, SAS Zombie Assault, etc. And after a while, I was getting a bit sick of them. Not because they were bad or anything, far from it. It was because I wanted something more brutal, hardcore, and punishing. So imagine my surprise when I came across this little game called No More Room in Hell. Let's talk about it. No More Room in Hell is a free-to-play co-op survival horror game created by Lever Games. It was originally released as a mod for Half-Life 2 back in 2011 and appears to have been in development as far back as 2004, going by ModDB. The game was later released as a standalone product on Steam in 2013. The game offers two game modes, waves and objectives, and can be played in either single player or multiplayer. In multiplayer, good teamwork, communication, and coordination is needed if you want to successfully live, as some maps can throw just massive hordes of zombies at you, and some can have objectives that require other players. Now, this doesn't stop you from lone wolfing it, of course, and it's not impossible to complete some of the maps. Just don't expect it to be easy. Waves is your typical zombie survival wave mode thing. You spawn in a small confined area where you and up to 7 other players fight against waves and waves of zombies using the tools around you and blocking passageways to slow them down. Now there is a set amount of zombies you have to kill, and after several waves, you have the opportunity to extract. The objective mode is completing a series of small tasks to reach from point A to point B and get evacuated. Now some of the objectives can vary wildly between each map, but some examples can be refuel the generator, connect this wire, lift the fence, disable the force field, help this man, etc, etc, etc. There are several types of zombies you have to deal with. Shamblers are, well, they're just your regular zombies. They're slow and weak. Runners, they're runners. They run and attack very quickly. Children zombies. Yes, they are a thing and they're very controversial, and I won't get into it. It's very tiring. They're just as fast, but are really weak. Crawlers, who they crawl and are by far the most pathetic type of zombie. And finally, we have the National Guard zombies. You can notice them via their body armor, and they have just a tiny bit more health to them. But it's a really pathetic amount of health, honestly. In traditional survival horror fashion, supplies are limited. Healing items, weapons, ammo, and general items. With ammo and guns being so limited, you have to rely on your melee weapons for most of the time and only use your guns in an emergency. Now, smaller melee weapons, so knives, wrenches, gas pipes, need 2 to 4 hits to take down a zombie. More bigger melee weapons, sledgehammers, fire axes, and foobar wrecking bars need only 1 to 2 hits. Also, there's a chainsaw. The bigger the weapon, the more damage it deals, but the more it consumes stamina. The guns range from pistols to more powerful rifles and shotguns. Now there's also more oddball ones like a bow and arrow and a flare gun. Now when dealing with zombies using ranged weapons, always aim for the head. These zombies usually take 1 or 2 shots to the head with weaker guns, and most of the time only 1 shot with more powerful guns. Never body shot a zombie unless you like to waste ammo. The game takes on a more realistic and Romero-esque approach, which I've actually seen very few zombie games do. Which means that going into this game can be really difficult at first, as it requires a lot of patience. This ain't your Call of Duty zombies or your Left 4 Dead. Movement is slow, stamina is limited as all hell, healing takes ages, reloading is a chore, Zombies, apart from the runners and the zombie children, are slow as well, thankfully, so on and so forth. And this game is committed to realism, with very little HUD elements obscuring your view. You have to inspect your magazine to see how many rounds it has left. When zombies hit you, there's a chance that it could tear open a wound and cause you to slowly bleed out unless you have bandages to seal the wound. This game is incredibly punishing, probably one of the most punishing games I've played, and you will die a lot in this game, so you have to constantly make choices. Should I waste several bullets or run past this small group of zombies? Should I give my pills to my friend or keep them for myself? Should I stop to loot, potentially giving time for more zombies to arrive, or should I go? Nearly every choice you make is important. The coolest thing about this game is that it features several civilian guns, which further enhances the realism. Now, in a zombie apocalypse, you wouldn't typically come across a deagle in a civilian's house. So, there's the Socko 85, the Ruger 1022. 10/22? 1022, okay. The Ruger 1022, the Ruger Mark III, which sounds like it has a silencer attached to it, and a CZ 858, which, according to my research, is just a rip-off AK made in Czechoslovakia. The guns in this game have impact and weight to them, paired with some nice gun sounds, if a bit loud, and really satisfying real animations, especially for an indie game.
Nice.
Speaking of cool and realistic things about this game, one of my favorite aspects is that you can get infected, and especially on how the game treats infections. So, zombies in this game can grapple onto you, and there's a chance that you can get infected from them. This makes every encounter with a zombie much more terrifying, no matter if it's one zombie or a horde, and you have to try to keep as far away from them as possible. And in the situation that you are infected, there are several ways you can deal with this. You can let the infection slowly take over you. You can take your own life. Medkits and bandages won't do anything here, so there are pills which you can consume, but that only delays the infection for 3 minutes. There's also an item called the gene therapy, which, when injected into you, basically makes you immune to the virus. Now, only thing is, it spawns into maps extremely rarely. So there's really no point to look out for these unless you have extreme patience, in my opinion at least. So, if you're infected, you're probably out of luck. Another cool thing about this is that if you are playing multiplayer, if one of your team members is infected, they basically become a liability, and you have the option to outright kill them. No More Room in Hell is a game drenched in atmosphere. While it is running on the now nearly 2-decade-old Source engine, probably older than most Fortnite players, it still manages to look really good with a strong visual style. This is a dark game. And by dark, I mean you will probably need an OLED monitor for this game, filled with grimy colors, murky fog, and is a generally visually grim game, and stands out among other Source engine games. The level ambience portrays the chaos and hopelessness around you as thousands of zombie modes surround you, with the occasional gunshot here and there, and maybe a scream. It may reuse some sound effects from Half-Life 2, I noticed, but it isn't really that big of a deal. Plus, they're probably stock sound effects anyway, so I doubt copyright is a big issue. The soundtrack, composed by Garrett Thod Lindquist, Lindquist. I am so sorry if I mispronounced your name. My English is not my best. Garrett Thod Lindquist. The soundtrack, composed by Garrett Thod Lindquist, is beautifully moody and just in general, it oozes so much quality and is one of my personal favorite video game soundtracks. All this comes together in this nice, cohesive, I don't know how else to say it. It's cohesive atmosphere that is dark and foreboding. Now for the Romero enthusiasts among you guys, which I'm sure there are several, you can figure out that this game is just one giant love letter to the late George Romero, the father of zombies. If calling this game Romero-esque wasn't a big enough hint, the name of this game, No More Room in Hell, is a quote taken from one of the most well-known lines said in Dawn of the Dead, my personal favorite zombie movie.
Was a priest in Trinidad. Used to tell us, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
The Winchester rifle is probably a nod to the rifle Ben used in Night of the Living Dead, played by the marvelous Dwayne Jones. There's an entire map recreation of the farmhouse in the same movie. It's really good stuff, honestly, and there's probably more Easter eggs that I don't know about. Now, with all of the praise I've given to this game, there are still some smaller issues I've had with it. Now, I've encountered some weird crashes here and there, which is probably something to do with the engine itself. The hitboxes can be really weird. There are times where, even if you're at a reasonable distance away from the zombie, they can still attack and grapple onto you. Now, and other times, it just seems like your shots aren't hitting anything, even if you're standing like point blank at them. You can only hold one pill bottle at a time. Now, I would assume it's for balancing reasons, and it is understandable, as you don't want your teammates to just stalk on pills. But it's annoying regardless, as if you are infected and you haven't taken your life yet, you'd have to either quickly search for some pills or manually drag a pill bottle with you, which is all kinds of annoying. And in terms of the multiplayer aspect, it can be a bit of a hit or miss. Now, the community server tab can also be a mess as well, as there are multiple servers that are just loaded with plugins that take away from the core gameplay experience. So there's stuff like infinite ammo, infinite stamina, you name it. Now, there are servers that stay vanilla, so if you find one, make sure to put it in your favorites list for later. And when you do find a server and you enter it, you can encounter some people who are pretty experienced at the game and can help you along the way. Other times, however, you can find players who are not as experienced. They can steal every gun they see and then die to a crawler because they don't know how to holster or knock them back. With all that said, however, I still feel that this is one of the best zombie games to have ever graced us during a period where zombie games were flooding the gaming market. What makes this stand out among the rest of other zombie games is the commitment and willingness to slow it down and make it grounded in realism. It throws a harsh and brutal twist to the typical zombie formula we all know and probably love, and make it unique. It's a really, really good game. Like, really good. Good with a capital G, if you could look past some of the issues. Also, it's free. No DLCs, no battle pass, none of that always online bullshit. None of that. It's free. The game by default has quite a bit of content already. It comes with many maps for objective mode and survival mode. You get a range of characters, each having their own unique personality and voice set you can toggle. You get access to the Hammer Editor, which is Source Engine's level editor, and create levels if you want to. So even better is that the game has Steam Workshop support, which was added, I believe, 2 to 3 years ago, which has all sorts of really cool community-made content ranging from custom maps, retextures, reskins of weapons and character models, and so on. There's a shocking amount of content available in this game, which can provide you with many hours of fun with your other pals. The community surrounding this game is small but very active, with around 700 or so players, with the most amount of players active during night, at least where I live. Now, despite the developers' hard work of creating the sequel, No More Room in Hell 2, they still update and maintain the source version with new additions, fixes, and changes. So, yeah, this game is far from dead. So, to you, lovely viewer, if you're in a survival horror, zombies, or just want something hardcore, I highly recommend you to play this. Even if you aren't into those genres, I'd still recommend you take a shot at it. It might be your next favorite game. Also, I just want to say, Lever Games, congratulations on getting someone to back your project. I'm really looking forward to the sequel and hope for smooth development on your end. Anyways, that's enough for me. My short name is Alex. Always check your corners, keep your people safe, and good luck.